Hello, so I'm here in London with my nice French accent to speak about API Platform, a framework built on top of Symfony. So I'm Kevin Dinglas, and I'm the member of the Symfony core team. I'm the co-founder of a small startup company in France called Letial.coop, and I'm also the first contributor ever to API Platform, and it's what I will show you today. So Letial.coop, it's a company of 20 people, and this company is owned by all the people working in it. When we do benefits, and we usually do a lot of benefits, we share every benefits between all the employees. And for now, we are in Lille in France and in Paris, but we will open an office in London, so if you're interested to work in a worker cooperative, just drop me a mail. So the web has changed a lot since the release of Symfony 1 and even Symfony 2. Now, most web applications looks like this. There is a central API, and you need to connect to your data and to your services from a lot of channels, like a website, of course, but also mobile phones, other APIs, IoT things like maybe your fridge or Amazon Alexa, or a lot of different devices need to be able to communicate together and to access all your data, all your services. Some applications also use separate components in the same stack. If you use a service-oriented application or a microservice application, you probably have several components speaking through an API in your application. Okay? So APIs, it's the earth of the new web. If you start to build an application now, it probably should be based on an API. Any kind of application is the only way to be future-proof and to be able to provide your service on websites, on mobile phones, in connected devices with ease. Another big change since the release of Symfony 1 and Symfony 2 is the JavaScript world. When Symfony 1 or Ruby on Rails and Python and Django in Python was released, every app was generating HTML server-side. Now it's different. Now most modern applications, when you look at Airbnb or Facebook or any new Google application, they use a static website that will be downloaded by the browser, that can be run offline using service workers. And this static website will query an API or a remote server to get the data and to execute the logic. So in modern apps, the front end is not served by the server-side app anymore. It's a separate app, and the front end communicates with the back end. Okay? To do progressive web apps and single-page application, there are a lot of modern tools that you may use to manipulate or not, but React, Angular, Vue.js, it's always used for modern apps, even if the server-side part is done with Symfony or Python or anything like that. Another big change since the release of Symfony 1 and Symfony 2 is the rise of the mobile web. Now, if you start a new company, you probably want to be on the App Store or on Google Play, because most people are using their mobile phone to access the web instead of their desktop computer. There are many ways to create mobile apps. You can use native technologies, so as Objective-C or Swift or languages like that, but you can also use the JavaScript stack with NativeScript or React Native to build your apps in JavaScript, but execute them as native web apps using a native widget from the operating system. And finally, the last big change in the web of today is that modern apps must be cloud native. You will probably not copy your file, push them on a server through FTP, you will probably use something like Google Cloud Platform or Amazon AWS or Heroku to deploy and to build, to ship your app to your customer. And you will probably want to do that continuously. You probably want to deploy a version of your project on the cloud, even every time you create a new branch on your GitHub project. Okay? So the goal of API platform, the features I will show you today, is to work on both sides on everything I've just spoke about. Okay, so it's a framework to create APIs and to consume them with modern JavaScript technologies and to be able to create native web apps and to be able to easily deploy the whole project on cloud platforms like Google Cloud Platforms or Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure. So it's the first goal. The second goal of the framework is to be very easy to use. There are a lot of technologies involved, so you need to know Docker and Kubernetes and PHP and Symfony, probably Flex and JavaScript and React, and it's a lot of technologies to learn, and it can be difficult to create a modern web project for a small team. The goal of the framework is to make this easy, and even if you're a freelancer, if you are alone, you can be able, with this set of tools, to bootstrap a project using those technologies without being an expert in every field. So in the standard distribution of API platform, it's what we call that the new full stack framework, you have everything to do that. It's a brand new project. The first public release, the first stable release, is less than 1 year old, but it's already used in many major companies on big websites in production, including GE, Decathlon, Leroy Merlin, or the French CNN, France 24, with using this tool actually in production, currently in production. So during this talk, after this talk, you will be able to create your own API platform project, and we will create one together. If you have a laptop, you can follow what I will say, and you can create your application while I'm speaking. The first thing you need to have to create a full stack API platform project is to have Docker on your computer. Who is using Docker here? Okay, almost everybody, so it's perfect. To get started, you go on the API platform website, you click on the download button, you will get a zip file from GitHub, you unzip it, and you run Docker Compose up. And you have a working API platform skeleton. You open your web browser, you go to localhost, you can use HTTPS if you want, and this shows up on your screen. So it's a tiny dummy API provided with the skeleton, a working API with a documentation with HTTPS and HTTP2 support, excuse me, by default, okay? So how do we get this? In fact, there is a dummy class provided with the skeleton, and it's everything that is needed to get a working API. So you just need to create a single PHP class. An API platform will take care of exposing a working API for it, okay, and to document it through Swagger. Okay, you get the code? As you can see, there are some annotations in the code. There is some doctrine mapping, because by default, we provide an optional doctrine integration. So if you want to use the doctrine ORM, you get a persistent system that works that is unled by API platform directly. But if you prefer to use your own persistent system, you can build it too. You can not use doctrine if you want to. So just the other one is the API resource annotation, and it's the hook to let API platform create the API from this data structure. So in the stable version of the standard distribution of API platform, you have a Symfony standard edition built on top of Symfony 3.3. A cross-platform Docker setup that works on Linux, on Mac, even if it's a bit slow on Mac, and on Windows. a PHP FPM and an Nginx Docker container tuned for Symfony apps. This setup, you can reuse it for any Symfony application. It's not especially for API platform. We ship it with API platform, but even if you don't use API platform, you can reuse the Docker files and the Docker Compose file in your own Symfony project. A MySQL container, and we will talk more about that later, Varnish cache reverse proxy for performance, but there is a slide for that. If you go to GitHub and grab the master version, Symfony Standard Edition was replaced by Symfony Flex. So I will not re-explain what is Symfony Flex. Everybody was at the keynote of Fabien. Okay, so the last version of API platform, for the API part, it uses Symfony Flex, and everything you have seen tomorrow, you can use it with the API platform last version. MySQL has been replaced by a real database, so now you have it's Postgres by default because we use some features of Postgres, and it's easier to deploy it in the cloud, but we will see that after. There is, as you can see, HTTP2 and HTTPS proxy on front of your Symfony API to be able to use features like service workers and everything that requires HTTPS. There are some containers for front-end development, but it's the next part of the talk, and the simplified and easier directory structure to manage built on top of Symfony Flex too. So Flex is very important component of the new distribution of API platform. Okay, you can say it's too much for my project. Flex, the philosophy behind Flex is to go micro. Okay, why not? The idea of the full stack version of API platform is to make the choice for you. You are a freelancer, you want to create a modern project, you want to deploy it, you want to go fast, use the standard edition. You are a big company, you know exactly what you are doing. Don't grab the standard edition of API platform, just create a new Flex project, Composer create project Symfony skeleton, and just type Composer require API. You will just grab the tiny API platform library that will show you how to create a small API, but without the whole setup, the Docker components, the HTTP2 proxy, and it's to go micro, just go this way. So now, if you have a laptop, you can create your own API with API platform. Remove the dummy entity provided with the setup and create a new one. We will start a new startup. It will be a company to sell books. There is a company called Amazon, and it was their first website. It was just a tiny library online. So we will do the same thing, but in a small scale, in a smaller scale. So create your entity is just a PHP class. This class can have public properties or use getters and setters and accessor methods. It's up to you. You can use the style you want. If you want to go fast, map this data structure with Doctrine. If you don't want to expose publicly the schema of your database, just create a set of PHP class for Doctrine and another set of PHP classes for API platform. This has not to be tight. It's the way to go fast, but if you want to have separate PHP classes for Doctrine and for API platform, you can do that too, okay? So at the Doctrine mapping, don't forget to add the API resource annotation, and you have your first API. Let's take a look. Okay, so the PHP documentation that was included in the previous entity is automatically extracted and exposed as an OpenAPI Swagger documentation. Then we had, on top of that, we had a Swagger UI to have a nice user interface. As you can see, API platform is smart enough to create a CRUD API. So you have get, post, put, and delete verbs that works, that persists data in a database. And you have the corresponding responses. So requests and responses are handled by the framework. And just by creating a single PHP class, it works. you have nothing to do more. The framework takes care of exposing this data structure as a public API with a documentation with support for many modern hypermedia formats. Okay, so in this video, you can see all the features that are provided with no config, with zero configuration, just by creating a class. So it's the easy part of the framework. Of course, when you want to create a bigger project, you will need to learn how to use the config, all the infrastructure provided by API platform and by Symfony because it's built on top of Symfony, and everything you already know about the dependency injection container, the Symfony serializer, the Symfony validator, you will use this knowledge because everything is in API platform is built on top of Symfony components. Okay, so we have a REST API with CRUD support and an automatic documentation and Swagger UI. And you maybe noticed that the exposed format is a bit weird. It's a JSON API, but with some properties starting with the @ symbol. Okay? And those special keys are keys from a format called JSON LD. It's a format it's the web standard from the W3C, but I have some slides about that too. More on that later. If you don't want to use JSON LD, I think it's the better default format for a new API, but you can choose to use other format. API platform natively supports content negotiation. So if you prefer to use JSON API, another popular API format, or HAL, or raw, CSV, or YAML, or XML, or anything supported by the Symfony serializer, you just have a config flag to change. And you can change the format, the output of the API. If you want to support several formats, you can enable several formats, and just API platform will read the accept or the content type HTTP header and adapt the output of the API depending on the HTTP headers you sent. Okay?
What's the difference between JSON LD and JSON?
Excuse me?
What's the difference between JSON LD and JSON?
More on that later. It's in the talk. There is also a pagination system enabled by default. You can turn it off if you want, but you can, by default, there is all collections are paginated, so it's better for performance and security. Another feature, there is a hook with the Symfony validator. It's an optional hook, just like Doctrine, but if you want to use the Symfony validator, you can do it. We will edit the PHP class and add an assertion, the not blank assertion, okay? So we say, now the title property must be filled. It's just the annotation provided by the Symfony validator component, okay? You can use validation groups, error levels, everything that is provided by the Symfony validator components. If you want to, there is an integration for that. So let's try our new annotation. We will create a new book using Swagger UI, but it just generates a real JSON post request. But this book will have an empty title. So let's check. API platform just executed the Symfony validator, and there is a problem. So the violations are returned by the API with the corresponding HTTP code. Okay, so validation is just handled by the Symfony validator by one annotation you add to your class. You can create custom validators, everything you want if you want to. What about relations? Because it's a big part of REST APIs and modern APIs. So we add a new class to a new resource to our API. So we create a new class, a review, this one, and this review will have a relation with the related book. Okay, so to do that, we use Doctrine, but you are not. It's not mandatory to use Doctrine. I'm strong on that because it's a common problem with API platform. Everybody thinks you need to use Doctrine, but it's not the case. So in the example, this is Doctrine, but it's really not mandatory. So here is a new relation with the book. Let's check. We will create a new review for the book we created earlier. Okay. So what we have to do is just to specify the URL of the book as a relation. Okay, you notice it? This way, API platform will be able to use the routing component, find the corresponding doctrine entity or PHP class of the book identified by this URL, and do everything necessary to, in the PHP code, transform this URL in an instance of the PHP entity. So the Symfony validator doctrine on any library using raw PHP objects will work because API platform in the serialization and deserialization process transform references to URLs in real instances of PHP class, in objects, okay? And here again, it's automatical. If you want to reduce the number of HTTP requests you send to your API for performance, you can also embed the relation. To do that, if you have been to the previous talk of Sarah, who was at the talk of Sarah? Okay, Sarah was speaking about the groups annotation of the Symfony serializer. You can just leverage this annotation. You add a context on API platform, and you say, use the group review with for serialization. Then you say the book property and the body property must be included. And in the book property, the title property must be included too. API platform will be smart enough to find that this is a relation. So it should serialize because of the groups, the related object. And in this object, only the title property must be included. Okay, so serialization group of the top entities are propagated to child entities. Let's try. The result will be something like that. Here, we don't have only the URL. We still have the URL identifying the entity, but we also have the property, the embedded document with the properties we selected. Okay? Next feature, provided with the standard edition and available, but you need to turn it on manually with the core library if you use micro application with Symfony Flex, and HTTP and validation mechanism. So if you turn on this feature, every HTTP response generated by the API will be marked with the URLs of resources it contains. So in the previous example, the review with the book, this response will be tagged with the tag review/1 and book/2. Okay? Then HTTP cache headers are set to tell to the reverse proxy, Varnish, or Cloudflare. It works with Cloudflare too if you prefer to use this service. Just store this response in cache for a long time with a very long TTL. Every next request sent by a client will be served by the reverse proxy. PHP will not be executed because we say for this document, we want to serve it from the cache for long TTL. There is a problem because if somebody updates one of those resources, the cache will be stale and the client will get outdated data. To prevent that, API platform is smart enough to detect that a resource has been edited and is now outdated and speak with the reverse proxy to tell it purge every HTTP responses containing this tag. So in the previous example, if you send a PUT request to the API to update the book, the URL reviews/1 will be automatically purged in real time, and the next request by a client will be fresh. But in all other cases, PHP will not be touched. So it allows to have very good performance for read APIs. So in write, there is no cache, so it's useless. But if you have a lot of GET requests, it allows to reduce your hosting bill and to improve dramatically your performance. And it's on by default with the standard edition. You can just configure it if you want to use the Flex application. The cache reverse proxy is provided with HTTP2 support. You just need to go to this port instead of the standard port. So you can access the raw API to test, but in production, you should always use the cast reverse proxy on top of it for performance. Okay, so it's only 40 minutes, and there are a lot of features in API platform. So you can go to the website and learn how to add an authentication system, security rules, how the security HTTP headers are automatically sent, or you can add filters, sorting, or you can create custom serializer, custom operations. There is a lot of extension points. You can override almost everything in this tool. Just go on the website and you will find the documentation for that. How can it work? If you take a look at the composer.json file of the core library, you can see that Symfony is built on top of just a few Symfony components. HTTP Foundation, but we have a compatibility layer with PSR7 if you prefer to use PSR7. HTTP kernel, property access, property info, and the serializer component. It's the core, the real dependency is the serializer component. Everything is built on top of it. And if you look at the directory structure, the default one, but I know some people using the API platform core library with Laravel. It's possible, you can do that. It's more work, but you can do that. The standard edition, it provides a Symfony Flex directory structure, and it automatically registers all routes necessary in the routing component of Symfony. There is a bridge with the routing components. It's what allows the API to work with custom routes natively. But if you want to replace the routing components by another component from another provider, you can do it too. It is shipped by default with the Doctrine ORM. And you can add any existing Symfony bundle to a Symfony server part application. So if you are used to Symfony, it will be easy for you to learn API platform. If you don't know Symfony for now, I think it's okay for everybody who has never tried Symfony. Okay, it's still easy to use, and it's an easy learning path to Symfony. Okay, and on top of all those Symfony components, we have metadata, a smart metadata system that it parses all classes tagged with the @IPA resource annotation, and it guesses all the properties, the relation between those classes, and the types of the properties. This is something that we have not in PHP. There is no type for properties, but we use existing metadata like PHP-doc or Doctrine mappings. There is a lot of metadata providers to guess the type of the API property, and it's what's enabled to generate the Swagger documentation and to have all the system that you have seen before. Okay, so because we know we have an intermediate representation of the API structure described as a set of PHP classes, we are able to automate everything. Okay, it's the core of the system, and we also provide a set of custom normalizers built on top of the Symfony serializer, providing hypermedia support. It's how it works to map an object with an URL. We use that everywhere in the API platform code base. It's provided by the API platform library, and it's why we can have JSON-LD or Hydra or HAL support, and Symfony by itself is not capable of doing that, but API platform has this component, and it's what allows API platform to guess the URL. By default, there is a lot of events. You can just register a Symfony kernel listener, and you can hook your own data load, your own business logic where you want. So it's a bit, there is a problem with the screen, but you can, if you want to send a mail when the new book is created, you can just register a new component after the right listener. So you're sure that the data has been persisted in the database. You can access this data and add your own logic to send your mail to SwiftMailer or the library you like. So it's easy to extend. What about JSON-LD and Hydra? I need to be a bit faster. So, do you know this figure? So, it's a basic starting Web 2 APIs with a lot of XML and XML HTTP requests from Internet Explorer. And the level 3, it's a modern API formats like JSON API or IDOA. Level 0 is you do what you want, you just use HTTP to request your data. Level 1 is organize your URLs as resources, so you have a books collection, a review collection, and everything like that. Level 2 is to use HTTP verbs, the good HTTP verbs like put to update a resource. And level 3 is to identify every resource by an URL and include all the data required by the client in the API response. So with a level 3 API, a client should be able to browse an API, pagination, relations, errors, without knowing anything about the API before. Okay, so you don't need to have an external documentation for developers. A standard client should be able to request the API if it respects this generation of formats. JSON-LD, it's a new web standard backed by the W3C and already massively used by Google. The Google Knowledge API used JSON-LD, and the BBC and many governments. And it's a level 3 REST API. It works with the previous stack of semantic web technologies, the things for people in the universities, you know, with Turtle and things like that. It's compatible with all this kind of stack. So API platform by default use JSON-LD. It's why you have the keys with the @ and these keys allows to map your standard JSON document, like with the ID and the title, with more advanced structures. I'm short in time, so I will go fast on that, but learn about JSON-LD, it's very interesting. You can transform the JSON-LD documents this way, okay? So the document can be easily parsed in JavaScript, but also with smart clients, you can do things, interesting things like that, or like transforming it in Turtle, it's a university format, or have a visual representation of the data, or use schema.org and embed the output of the API directly in your HTML and let Google extract structured data, okay? And it allows you to have something like that finally in Google, okay? It's JSON-LD, it's already used in production by Google to have rich snippets and things like that. Okay, IDOA, it's a way to describe, it's just like Swagger, but using JSON-LD, and with a lot of features, of extra features. It's a standard to describe web APIs. So you have a structure for collections and paginations like that. It's a standard data structure. And you have HTTP headers to describe to point to the API description, and the API description just think as a Swagger documentation, but moderner. Okay, it's time to see, we spoke a lot about server-side tools and Symfony tools, but now there are some tools to create client-side application with API platform, leveraging formats, IDOA, JSON-LD, we've seen earlier, okay? So, do you know Create React App? It's a small tool by Facebook to bootstrap a React project, okay? So you just have to install it on your computer, create a new project on your local computer, and you get a skeleton to create a new client-side React application. And you also get some nice development tools, like if you do an error, you have nice logs. We will extend our project. We add some properties to our classes, okay, publication date and an identifier. It's the same for the review. We install the fixture system of Theo Fidry. Maybe Theo is in the room, so if you need to populate a database for testing purpose and you need fixtures, just use this set of tools. It's awesome. So we use Flex and we add the tools from Theo, and we populate our database with a lot of books and reviews, okay? we update the database schema, and we will show the API platform admin component. So it's a React component built on top of a popular library in the React world called Admin on West. It's Admin on West, and it's designed by a French company too. This library follows the material design principles. Okay? Just by passing the API documentation generated by API platform, you get something like that. Okay? So zero line of code. You just open this URL in your browser. It's provided with the standard edition of API platform, and a fully working back office is not code. It's entirely dynamic. There is no code generation. Is built by passing the Hydra specification, and you have a back office just like Sonata or EasyAdmin, but it's a progressive web app. It works offline. And it's built with React, okay? And you have nothing more to do. So it handles collections, paginations, edition, deletion, update, data validation, and can guess common types like dates or emails to add the good widget, the good UI widget corresponding. If it guesses that this property is a date, and it shows up a calendar, okay? And of course, it works with relations too. If you don't want to use the standard edition, it's just a React library. So you type yarn add API platform admin in any React project, and you get the same thing. You just have to do that. It's the Hydra admin component that is provided by this library, and it only needs one property, the URL of the API. With that, if the API exposes the Hydra documentation, even if the server side is not built with API platform but with a Java tool or something like that, it will work. And it will generate the admin interface. And you can customize everything. It's built with React, so you can do a lot of things to specialize the components. For instance, here, we will change the body by a tiny MCE. So we find the body field of the reviews entity, we change the component to under it, and we got something like that. There is also tools to bootstrap your front office. This time, those tools are a bit different because they dump code on your hard drive. So it's not dynamic at all. It just dump. Okay, just 1 minute. It just dump the content. So you install the client generator. Think at Yeoman. It's just like Yeoman, but it uses Hydra or JSON-LD to generate the code. And you run a command like that. You have a skeleton, you have some lines to copy-paste, and you get generated code, a client React application generated on your hard drive, and it looks like this, like that. Okay, we will add. So it's everything you need to bootstrap and to edit and to tweak your static website built with React and consuming the API. Okay, so you can add a body. And just like the admin, every operations are support. But the main difference is that the admin is dynamic, and here the code is generated. Okay? And data validation and everything. It uses a modern React stack, okay? So you have all modern libraries like React Redux, Redux Form, Redux Sunk. If you are a JavaScript developer, it's the best stack available in the React world. But it is also able to generate code for other stacks. There is a React Native generator to create mobile apps. It works the same way. A generator for Angular, for Vue.js, Vue.js, and there are a lot of pending contributions on the GitHub repositories by JavaScript developers to add new generators. And if you want to add one, you can just open a pull request and support your preferred JavaScript framework. Here is the screenshot of the mobile app that is generated by this tool. Okay? So it's, the generator is not opinionated, and you need to add some style on top of this, of course. But this app is a native app. It uses native iOS widgets. Last thing, and it's okay for me, there is also a setup provided for the Docker images to deploy the whole application in a cloud computing platform built on top of Kubernetes. The Kubernetes is the main orchestration systems. It's what powers Google Cloud Engine, Google Container Engine. So you have your application, you create an account on Google Container Engine. There is a package manager for Kubernetes called Helm. You type Helm install and this command, and your app is available in production on a cloud platform supporting Kubernetes. Okay, it's why it's a new full stack framework. Okay, I don't know if I have time for questions. There is questions everybody asks. What about GraphQL? So type this command. And just with one PHP class, you got the REST API and GraphQL support from Facebook. So if you know GraphQL, it's just a GraphQL query where we select client-side which properties we want. Okay, we want the review of ID 1 with the body and the relation to the book. From the book, we want the ID, the body, the title. Okay. And API platform supports GraphQL. Add GraphQL supports to your API without having to write a single line of code except design your data model. Thank you.